believe, Chapter 3 of the 1967 Topps High Series cards, series in which we feature the High Series cards from the 1967 Topps set. This is actually the first card, number 535, that's kind of considered to be a short print. So in order to be able to acquire this card, you do have to kind of open up your pocketbook a little bit. It kind of ranges in poor condition from about $15. In higher condition, it can definitely cost you well up to $100 to be able to acquire. Don Clendenon, first baseman from the Pittsburg Pirates and future member of the amazing Mets in 1969, and also part of the charter team for the Montreal Expos, also in the same season before he was moved over to the New York Mets. Don Clendenon has a pretty interesting background because I was kind of looking up his history. But first, let's talk a little bit about his playing days, and we'll talk a little bit about where he's from as well. He was born in '35, and he was later on deceased in 2005. He was born in Missouri and later died in Sioux Falls, North Dakota. But during his playing days, he was drafted by the Pirates. This was after a brief period of time where he actually tried to become a teacher first, but then kind of got lured into a tryout for the Pittsburg Pirates and was later acquired, spent a few years in the minor leagues and later debuted with them in 1961, where he spent the majority of his career with the Pirates and just missed, obviously, the World Series team in 1960, who got moved on before they won a World Series later on in the early 70s, but he didn't miss out on the World Series by winning with the amazing Mets. Briefly with the Expos during the expansion draft, got picked up by the Mets during a trade early on, I think during May of that season. Later rounded out his career with the Cardinals for a single season, didn't play a lot with them, and wrapped everything up in 1972. He was kind of an interesting character, just because his father was a college professor, but he died shortly after his birth. I believe he was only 6 months old when his father died. But his mother remarried a former Negro League pitcher, Nick Williams. I think he was a Negro League pitcher. Negro League player for sure, but Nish Williams, I'm sorry. Nish was able to help him get an appreciation for the game and spent a lot of time coaching him, and was part of a coach on pretty much every team he had all the way through high school. And he was introducing him to a lot of the former Negro League players that he played with during his career, throughout his childhood and adolescence. So he had kind of a chance to meet like a lot of pretty interesting guys during those years, from like Aaron and like Jackie Robinson and stuff like that, at a very early age, and obviously helped kind of cultivate his love for baseball, although he was a letterman in several different sports, and actually was drafted in 3 before he decided to go on to college and attended Morehouse University, where he actually was mentored unofficially by a graduate by the name of Martin Luther King Jr. Of that university. So that's an interesting tie, obviously, of the civil rights leader at that point. You kind of wonder probably what went through his mind during the time when MLK was assassinated, considering that they were such close individuals at that time. But obviously he spent time as a Major League ball player. That's what we know him for best. He finished with a career WAR of 20, and a 274 average, had 159 home runs, 682 RBIs, and had almost 1,300 hits. He was like 27 short of that milestone. He led the league in strikeouts twice. That's probably the only category he led the league in. But his best season came in 1966 when he hit 299, had 28 home runs, and drove in 98. He's obviously most noted probably for his time spent on the amazing Mets in 1969. Like I mentioned before, he was brought over in May of that season, but he actually also was the World Series MVP when they played Baltimore later on that season. He had 3 home runs during that World Series and was voted the World Series MVP for 1969. So that's probably his biggest claim to fame, is probably as a player, is being part of that team and also winning the MVP award during that particular clash between the American National League back in '69. Although he was second in Rookie of the Year voting, that probably tops even that accomplishment, because he actually was part of the team that actually won. After his career, he turned back to education and became a lawyer, and was a lawyer for many years, but then began to start struggling with drug addiction. And he actually had to enter in a treatment facility for a period of time, which influenced him quite a bit during his career, because he later on became a drug counselor for the rest of his life. But also during that time, during his medical examination for entering into the drug facility, they actually found out that he had leukemia. So he ended up battling leukemia for many years as well. So he obviously was dealing with that while also kind of repurposing his life by turning to be able to helping others while at the same time needing help himself in a very serious way. He was honored later on, I think it was during his time that he was still alive when this happened. He was a member of the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. So that's pretty much the career and life of Don Clendenon. Obviously, I probably could go on more kind of talking about his life and career, but let's look at the card itself. You can see it probably was a picture taken in spring training. Given the clear blue background, you don't see any stadium there or any background to kind of suggest that it's part of a larger stadium. You can see it's got the old batting helmet on there, which was pretty custom during that time. Here's the back of the card with the avocado green. A couple cartoons up in the right here. As you can see, I have one that's pretty off center, but I was actually happy to be able to acquire it when I did. And sometimes you make those sacrifices when you're building a set from this era when you have cards that are super short print. Sometimes you'll take something that's less than meant to be able to complete your set. And that was the case in this one. I can't remember what I paid for it at the time, but it was definitely more than $2, I can tell you that, which would have been what any of the common cards cost from any of the lower series. All right, well, that is it. That is Don Clendenon for this month. We'll be back next month to do card number 536, which I think gives us our first dual rookie card, but it's a rookie card of a very famous brother of a Hall of Fame pitcher. So we'll get a chance to review that next month. So see you soon.